Ever question how a single moment of despair could set the stage for a lifetime of triumph? Imagine standing at the crossroads of heartbreak and hope, where every tear tells a story of struggle and every scar hints at an unyielding determination. In the labyrinth of life, moments of despair can be the very catalyst that propel us toward extraordinary destinies. In this story, the reader is invited to witness the transformative journey of Mr. Kelvin, a man whose life was once painted with the hues of familial bliss, until an unforeseen betrayal shattered that vibrant portrait. As you turn the page, let these poignant words ignite the spark within. Out of the embers of shattered dreams, the fire of hope can rise, illuminating even the darkest corners of the human experience. With a heart laden with sorrow and eyes filled with determination, Mr. Kelvin embarks on a path that defies the conventional narrative of loss. His journey, replete with unbearable pain and persistent struggle, carries the promise of redemption. The emotional landscape is not merely about pain. It is an evocative testament to the human spirit's capacity to overcome. In the midst of despair, there is a clarion call. Will you dare to rise when life knocks you down? This question resonates deeply with anyone who has ever felt overwhelmed by life's relentless challenges. Here, each heartbreak becomes a stepping stone toward an unforeseen legacy, each hardship a lesson in perseverance. As we delve into pages of this extraordinary tale, prepare yourself for a story that is both personal and universal. One where the cost of triumph is measured in sacrifices, and the currency of success is forged in the fires of adversity. Let the emotional rhythm of this narrative carry you from the depths of despair to the soaring heights of success, where love, resilience, and unwavering support pave the way toward an everlasting legacy. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to Heartbeat Narratives, your ultimate destination for all things romances, connection, and heartfelt stories. I'm thrilled to have you here, sharing this amazing journey of exploring love in all its beautiful, complex, and magical forms. Whether you're a hopeless romantic, someone searching for relationship insights, or just love diving into heartwarming content, you're exactly where you need to be. If you're enjoying what you see, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could hit that subscribe button to stay connected with our Heartbeat Narratives community. Drop a like to show some love, support, and motivation. Share this video with someone who might need a little romance in their life. Your support means the world to me and helps us continue creating content that celebrates love, connection, and the beautiful stories that bring us together. In a time not so long ago, Mr. Kelvin's life was an embodiment of happiness, a picturesque mosaic of love and familial bonds. Together with his devoted wife, Victoria, he built a modest yet joy-filled home, a sanctuary where laughter echoed and dreams were nurtured. The couple's shared world was an ideal portrait, a harmony between ambition and the simple pleasures of life, where each moment was treasured as a precious memory. Their marriage was blessed with the arrival of 4 beautiful children, 2 boys and 2 girls, each a radiant smile and a promise of future hope. The days in the Kelvin household were spent in the gentle chaos of family life. Breakfast tables laden with heartfelt conversations, evenings echoing with bedtime stories, and weekends marked by the celebration of small victories. It was a time when every laughter-filled meal and every shared secret deepened the roots of a united family tree. Yet, beneath the surface of domestic perfection, subtle undercurrents hinted that life's equilibrium was fragile. Mr. Kelvin, a man of steadfast ideals and quiet determination, believed that each day carried the opportunity to fortify the bonds of love and to nurture dreams. His eyes sparkled with hope as he envisioned a future where his children would grow up to be not only kind-hearted individuals, but also pioneers of change in a world desperate for compassion and perseverance. In his heart, Mr. Kelvin carried the belief that a family united in purpose could overcome any challenge. The vibrant tapestry of their early years was interwoven with moments of togetherness that promised a lifetime of shared joy. Victoria's gentle words and caring presence had once illuminated their days, making even the simplest moments feel like a blessing from above. However, as fate would later reveal, even the brightest moments often hide undercurrents of impending change. The idyllic days, steeped in love and dreams, were soon to be tested by the unforeseen, a challenge that would not only fracture the fragile balance of their harmony, but also set the stage for an extraordinary metamorphosis. As the Kelvin family edged toward the precipice of profound change, their story would soon become an inspiration to many. The seeds of resilience were already sown, promising that even the longest night would eventually give way to the dawn of a new era. Just as a perfect day can be marred by an unexpected storm, life sometimes deals us blows that shatter our carefully built illusions. The turning point in Mr. Kelvin's life came when Victoria, overwhelmed by circumstances unknown, walked away from the family shortly after the birth of their youngest child. In a single moment, the vibrant hues of his world faded into a palette of sorrow and bewilderment. The departure left behind a chasm of unspoken words and shattered expectations. Mr. Kelvin, feeling the weight of loneliness, was thrust into the role of both nurturer and provider. Every day became a battle against time and despair. The once comfortable rhythm of family life was now punctuated by the ceaseless demands of raising 4 children without the presence of a loving partner. The children, though still innocent and yearning for the comfort of their mother, began to sense the subtle shifts in the household, a quiet resignation in their father's eyes, and evenings filled with silent tears and whispered fears. Determined not to let his family be defined by heartbreak, Mr. Kelvin decided to fight against the tide of despair. He took on not 1 but 3 jobs, working from the early blush of dawn until the world outside surrendered to the night. Each labor was an act of defiance against the despair that threatened to engulf him. The incessant demands of his multiple roles left him physically drained and mentally exhausted. Yet he pressed on, driven by an unwavering love for his children. Long nights blurred into early mornings as he navigated the relentless grind, often wondering if each sacrifice would ever be repaid by a moment of relief or a glimpse of happiness. The echoes of his children's laughter, now a distant memory, were replaced by the deafening silence of isolation. In moments of rare solitude, Mr. Kelvin's thoughts would drift back to the days when his family was whole, a time he desperately clung to despite the unbearable pain. In the midst of this personal tempest, society's eyes often overlooked the silent struggle of a grieving father. The burden of multiple jobs left him with little time to grieve, to mourn the loss of the partnership that had once been the bedrock of his life. Every encounter was a bittersweet reminder of what had been lost. Friends and relatives offered words of sympathy, but sympathy alone could not mend the fissures in his heart or provide for the growing needs of family in crisis. The days were long, and the nights even longer. In the quiet moments when exhaustion began to blur reality, Mr. Kelvin often questioned whether the sacrifice was worth the relentless struggle. Was it possible that his ceaseless efforts would bear fruit, or was he doomed to live a life marked by perpetual pain and missed moments of connection? The questions gnawed at him like persistent shadows, yet the faint ember of hope refused to be snuffed out completely. In the midst of these tumultuous times, his heart ached not just for himself, but for his children who were forced to watch the man they admired lose himself in the jaws of hardship. The fragile balance between duty and despair was on the verge of collapse. Mr. Kelvin's soul cried out for rescue, a plea echoing across the silent corridors of an empty home. The toll of the struggle was etched into every line on his face and every sigh that escaped his lips, making him a living testament to the price of perseverance. Each day in that struggle was a lesson in endurance, a daily challenge where each small victory, whether a smile from a child or the successful completion of a long shift, was savored as though it were a rare treasure. Amidst the monotony of hardship, the dream of a better future flickered like a distant star. Even when hope seemed lost, that inner spark of determination persisted, urging him to rise again. With every new day, however burdened his limbs or heavy his heart, his journey through the tempest was far from over. It was simply the crucible in which the strength of his spirit was being forged. In the midst of Mr. Kelvin's relentless battle against despair and exhaustion, when the days seemed too long and the nights too lonely, fate introduced an unexpected savior, Sandra. At first, she was a distant yet kind presence, a friend of Victoria with a heart that could empathize with pain. But as the weeks turned into months, her subtle gestures of kindness began to weave a fragile tapestry of hope around the shattered remnants of the Kelvin household. Sandra had always been a woman of quiet strength. Even before the turbulent events that reshaped the lives of Mr. Kelvin and his children, she had weathered her own share of storms. Born into modest means and having lost loved ones early in life, Sandra learned firsthand the value of compassion and resilience. These experiences had endowed her with an innate empathy and a willingness to care for those in need. When she first heard of Mr. Kelvin's plight, a lone father, overwhelmed by grief and forced into a daily grind to provide for his 4 young children, her heart ached. She felt a pull, an inner call, to extend her hand to someone who so desperately needed it. It began with the smallest of actions. One crisp autumn evening, as the chill of winter slowly crept into the air, Sandra arrived at the Kelvin home bearing a basket of warm loaves and freshly brewed tea. Her visit was unannounced and unassuming, yet it carried with it a warmth that was impossible to ignore. Standing in the doorway of the modest home, she greeted Mr. Kelvin with a gentle smile. "I know these times are hard," she said softly, "and I thought you might use a little comfort." In that moment, the air shifted. The simple act of kindness brought an almost imperceptible light into a room long overshadowed by sorrow. At first, Mr. Kelvin was wary. The rawness of his grief and the unyielding weight of responsibility had built invisible walls around his heart. But as the days progressed, he found himself looking forward to Sandra's visits. Not only did she bring food that nourished their bodies, but her steady presence began to soothe their weary souls. She helped prepare meals, organized small gatherings for the children, and even found time to sit with Mr. Kelvin during the long hours after the children went to bed. Over time, these moments of companionship became the anchors that held the family together amidst the tumultuous waves of their daily struggles. The children, initially unsure of this new figure in their lives, eventually warmed to Sandra's kind nature. Little David, with his ever-present curiosity, started to ask her questions about the world beyond their small neighborhood. "Miss Sandra," he would say, his eyes shining with a mixture of wonder and relief, "what is it like where you come from?" Sandra would smile broadly and, taking him by the hand, spin tales of distant lands and adventures, subtly weaving lessons of courage and hope into each narrative. For the children, Sandra became more than just a caretaker. She evolved into the storyteller and confidant, a guardian angel whose very presence promised that the worst of times could someday be overcome. One rainy afternoon, when the storm outside seemed to echo the turbulence inside the home, Sandra initiated a family project that would inadvertently become symbolic of the healing process taking place. She introduced the idea of creating a memory quilt, a collaborative effort where each family member would contribute a small piece of fabric that represented a cherished memory or a favorite aspiration. As the soft, colorful patches came together, so too did the fragmented pieces of the family's collective spirit. Under her gentle guidance, the children expressed themselves through art and storytelling, their tentative sketches and fragments of narratives slowly forming a quilt that not only embodied their shared past, but also a hopeful glimpse of their future. During one particularly touching evening, as dusk settled over the home, Mr. Kelvin sat alone on the creaking front porch. The world around him had quieted, but his mind raced with memories of what had been lost. It was then that Sandra approached him, her footsteps light on the creaking wooden steps. "Kelvin," she whispered, taking a seat beside him, "I know that nothing can erase the pain you feel, but sometimes, in the sharing of our burdens, we find the strength to continue. Let me help carry some of that weight." In that moment, as the two shared the silence, Mr. Kelvin felt that something within him stirred, a spark of hope that perhaps he did not have to bear his pain alone. The transformation in the Kelvin household was gradual but undeniable. The once somber dining table was now frequently alive with the sound of laughter and shared stories. Sandra, with her kind yet firm manner, began taking an active role in the daily routines. She organized simple, joyful activities, reading sessions, quiet walks in a nearby park, and evenings filled with games and music. With every activity, Sandra brought forth a lively energy that began to mend the rifts caused by loss and hardship. Even the children, who had at first been reticent and withdrawn, started to open up. They began sharing their own feelings and dreams, little by little, revealing the vulnerability that had been hidden behind the facade of normalcy. One cool spring morning, as sunlight filtered through the worn curtains of the living room, the family gathered around for a breakfast that, unlike so many others, was punctuated by genuine smiles and animated chatter. In the midst of this newfound optimism, one of the children, Becky, shyly presented a drawing she had made, a drawing of a flourishing tree with bright blossoms reaching toward the sky. With her small hands trembling with a mix of excitement and nervousness, she said, "This is our family, growing and reaching for the light." The words, simple yet profound, resonated deeply with all present. Mr. Kelvin, moved almost to tears, looked at Sandra and silently acknowledged that her presence was changing everything. As the months melted into a quiet rhythm, Sandra's role in the family evolved further. She was no longer merely an ally in overcoming grief, but had become a vital part of the Kelvin identity. She took time to understand each child's unique personality and nurtured their individual talents. For young Solomon, who had always been gentle and observant, she arranged opportunities for him to explore nature and understand the deeper connections between life and healing. For Lisa, whose intellect shone even on the darkest days, Sandra offered encouragement and engaged her in thought-provoking discussions that sparked a passion for justice and fairness. And with David, whose innate curiosity had been the starting point of many heartfelt conversations, Sandra shared tales of resilience and innovation, planting seeds of ambition that would one day lead him to great pursuits. Perhaps the most transformative aspect of Sandra's involvement was her ability to bridge the gap between past sorrows and future promise. She approached each challenge with a quiet confidence, gently guiding the family through the healing process. On evenings when the melancholy of old memories threatened to resurface, she would sit with each family member, listening with earnest compassion as they voiced their innermost fears and regrets. In these sessions, the Kelvin household slowly learned that while the past could not be altered, its lessons could be transformed into the building blocks of a brighter future. Mr. Kelvin himself began to find solace in these interactions. He found that his burden did not feel so heavy when shared between caring hearts. In rare moments of candor, he would speak of his regrets and the loneliness that had once defined his days, only to find in Sandra the gentle reassurance that healing was not only possible, but was already in progress. "There's a strength within you that I've come to admire," she once told him during a hushed conversation by the window, the soft glow of twilight casting gentle shadows around them. "I believe that the pain you have endured will one day blossom into the triumphs you never dared to dream." Her words were like a soothing balm, infusing him with the resolve to persist despite the odds. One memorable night, as a gentle rain pattered against the roof, the Kelvin family gathered in the living room for an impromptu storytelling session. Sandra, ever the weaver of narratives, began recounting ancient tales of heroes and legends who had overcome insurmountable challenges. Her voice, both soft and compelling, carried the listeners into worlds where despair transformed into hope, and every sorrow was met with a glimmer of redemption. The children, entranced, listened with wide eyes as their imaginations took flight. For Mr. Kelvin, that night became a turning point. A reminder that within every story of triumph was a kernel of truth, a lesson that his own life was gradually evolving into one of courage and resilience. As the seasons changed, so too did the spirit of the Kelvin home. The once muted corridors echoed now with laughter and the vibrant expressions of hope. Sandra's influence transcended the simple acts of caregiving. She had ignited a revolution of the heart. Her involvement was a quiet but powerful force that transformed mundane routines into cherished rituals of togetherness. Family meals became opportunities for sharing not just food, but dreams. Quiet walks in the park became expeditions of discovery, uncovering beauty in every small detail of nature. With time, the impact of her presence rippled outward. Neighbors who had often observed the Kelvin family from afar noted a subtle change in the atmosphere, a renewed sense of optimism that seemed to emanate from within. Friends, too, began to recognize that the once isolated Mr. Kelvin now exuded a quiet strength, his smile a bit more frequent, his eyes holding a spark of hope that had long been missing. All of this was, in large part, thanks to the compassionate interloper who had become an irreplaceable part of their narrative. Yet, even as Sandra played a pivotal role in nurturing the family's burgeoning hope, she remained acutely aware of her origins and the trials she had once faced herself. On quiet evenings when the Kelvin children fell asleep and Mr. Kelvin settled into the calm of solitude, Sandra would sometimes reflect on her own journey. In the soft glow of lamplight, she would revisit the memories of a time when loneliness and loss had been her closest companions, and she would silently vow that no one in her care should ever feel so abandoned. Her reflections were not marked by regret, but by a heartfelt determination to transform every drop of sorrow into an enduring lesson of compassion. In the end, Sandra became more than a caregiver. She became the cornerstone of a renewed family spirit, a beacon that illuminated the darkest corners of grief and despair. Through her unwavering presence, the Kelvin household learned that even when life seems to descend into a relentless gloom, there's always a promise of a new dawn, a chance to rebuild from the ruins of the past, and to embrace the beauty of a future forged together. By accepting her into their lives, Mr. Kelvin and his children discovered that true healing comes not from forgetting what has been lost, but by honoring it and using it as a foundation upon which new dreams are built. And so, in the warm glow of Sandra's compassion, the Kelvin family rediscovered the quiet joy of belonging, the strength to face another day, and the resilience to forge a legacy that would echo far beyond the hardships of yesterday. In the wake of the sorrow and the hard-won recovery nurtured in their home, the Kelvin children began to emerge into the light of possibility. Within the walls of that modest dwelling, now resonating with laughter, reflection, and relentless ambition, the seeds of greatness had been carefully sown. It was here that every hardship they had experienced evolved into lessons of perseverance, determination, and hope. With the support and guidance of both Mr. Kelvin and Sandra, the children set forth on separate, yet deeply interconnected journeys that would eventually cement the legacy of the Kelvin family. David, the eldest of the siblings, was the first to reveal the spark of passion ignited by the years of witnessing his father's relentless determination. Even as a young child, David had learned that life's obstacles could be transformed into opportunities. His earliest memories were imbued with the image of his father working tirelessly into the night and the constant presence of Sandra's gentle encouragement. The story of the memory quilt, a symbol of shared hope and resilience, became, for David, a constant reminder that each challenge was merely a prelude to greatness. As he advanced through his schooling, David's inquisitive mind gravitated toward innovation and entrepreneurial endeavors. He spent long hours poring over books on business strategy, absorbing lessons from biographies of industry magnates who had risen from modest beginnings. In the evenings, while the rest of the family gathered for dinner, David would retreat to a quiet corner with a notebook, where he scribbled his dreams, mapping out intricate plans for startups that could reshape entire industries. His natural charisma and penchant for leadership soon made him an influential figure among his peers. Teachers noted his rare ability to merge creative insights with analytical precision. This unique blend of skills, honed in a crucible of familial struggle, laid the groundwork for what would ultimately become a groundbreaking career. In his early 20s, armed with a few modest loans and the unyielding support of his family, David launched his first company. It was a modest beginning, but every setback was met with a determination that mirrored his father's stoic resolve. Over time, his ventures grew in scope and influence, transforming from fledgling startups to robust enterprises that set new standards in innovation and corporate responsibility. David's achievements extended beyond the realm of commerce. Recognizing that success was incomplete without giving back, he became a dedicated philanthropist, channeling his resources into educational programs and community development projects. His business empire, once seen as just a means of personal triumph, evolved into a beacon of social progress that uplifted entire communities, an enduring tribute to the values instilled in him during those difficult early years. Solomon, the second son, took a path that was as distinct as it was deeply intertwined with his personal narrative. From his earliest days, Solomon was a quiet observer in the family, a child who absorbed every emotion, every struggle, and every small triumph with a tender heart. He witnessed the world around him with an acute sensitivity that later directed him toward a vocation in the healing arts. Inspired by the memories of silent nights when he watched his father battle exhaustion and sorrow, Solomon found solace in the study of human anatomy and the complexity of life. His inherent compassion was not just an emotion, but force that propelled him to seek answers to life's most profound questions. Determined to ease the pain that he saw in others, pain that mirrored the struggles of his own family, he pursued a career in medicine with fervor. Throughout his academic journey, Solomon's resolve was unwavering. Professors recalled his relentless pursuit of knowledge and his innate ability to empathize with patients. In a field often marked by sterile detachment, Solomon's approach was warm and human. He sought to understand not just the illnesses that afflicted his patients, but also the emotional and psychological scars that accompanied them. His fellow students admired his gentle demeanor, and soon his reputation as an aspiring healer began to spread. As the years unfolded, Solomon's dedication led him to specialize in a branch of medicine that emphasized regenerative care and holistic healing. He combined traditional medical treatments with innovative practices that addressed both physical and emotional well-being. His innovations not only improved clinical outcomes, but also helped redefine the ways in which medicine could uplift the human spirit. In every patient he treated, Solomon saw echoes of his father's struggle and the family's journey from despair to hope. His work, profoundly personal and remarkably impactful, became a testament to the healing power of empathy. The elder daughter, Lisa, emerged as a formidable force in the legal arena, a field where intellect and moral clarity were paramount. Her journey was marked by a steadfast commitment to justice, molded in the crucible of her early experiences. Growing up, Lisa had witnessed firsthand the fragility of fairness in a world often marred by inequity and neglect. The haunting memories of her mother's departure and the subsequent struggle to keep their family intact forged within her a deep-seated conviction that every individual, regardless of their circumstances, deserved a fair chance at happiness and success. Lisa's passion for law was evident in the quiet moments she spent debating ethics and rights with Sandra, who encouraged her inquisitive nature. It was during these discussions that Lisa began to see the law not as a distant, abstract concept, but as a powerful tool for societal change. Her academic pursuits were rigorous. She devoured legal texts, tirelessly prepared for debates, and participated in moot court competitions where her eloquence and analytical acumen shone brightly. In the courtroom, Lisa became known for her relentless advocacy and her ability to dismantle arguments with calm precision. Her first few cases were challenging, each one a stark reminder of the battles she had witnessed in her youth. But rather than dissuade her, these challenges fueled her determination. With each victory, no matter how small, Lisa felt that she was redefining the very notion of justice, a justice that resonated with the voices of the unheard and the downtrodden. Over time, her reputation grew. Lisa became a sought-after legal mind, frequently called upon to advise on cases that had far-reaching social implications. Her victories were not only measured in legal triumphs, but in the lives she touched, a testament to the belief that the law, when wielded with wisdom and compassion, could be a formidable force for good. Her work often led her to communities that had long been marginalized, where she worked to overturn unjust policies and to bring about reforms that uplifted entire neighborhoods. In every courtroom battle, Lisa's resolve echoed the lessons of her childhood, turning personal pain into a universal struggle for truth and equity. The youngest of four, Becky, was destined to carve a unique niche for herself in the realm of politics. From a tender age of understanding her family's turbulent past, she developed a fiery sense of purpose, a voice that could not be silenced by the norms of society. Unlike her siblings, who entered the fields of business, medicine, and law, Becky was drawn to the dynamic and often tumultuous world of politics, a domain where bold ideas and strong convictions could shape the future of nations. Even as a child, Becky displayed an uncanny ability to express her opinions with clarity and passion. She was the one who questioned the status quo, who dared to ask difficult questions about fairness and leadership at the dinner table. Sandra recognized this unyielding spirit and nurtured it by engaging Becky in thoughtful discussions about society, governance, and the rights of citizens. With every conversation, Becky's understanding of power and responsibility deepened, preparing her for a future that would require both courage and diplomacy. Her political journey was neither easy nor straightforward. The corridors of power were often lined with entrenched interests and resistance to change. Yet, Becky's innate resilience and her unwavering commitment to justice propelled her forward. She immersed herself in studies of political theory, governance, and public policy. Her academic years were marked by fervent activism on campus, organizing rallies, engaging in grassroots campaigns, and mastering the art of negotiation and persuasion. Becky's breakthrough came when she decided to run for a local office, a decision met with both skepticism and admiration. Her campaign was built on the promise of change, a promise rooted in her personal experiences of struggle and solidarity. Leveraging a deep understanding of the community's needs and a determination to fight inequality, she won a tightly contested election. Her tenure in office was characterized by bold reforms, addressing issues from education to public health, and ensuring that the voices of the marginalized were heard in policy debates. Her unique perspective, honed by the lessons of her youth and the guidance of her family, eventually propelled her into national prominence. As a senator, Becky became known for her uncompromising stance on social justice, her ability to mediate between conflicting interests, and her visionary policy initiatives aimed at reducing inequality. Each legislative battle she fought was a tribute to resilience of the human spirit, a conviction that even the most entrenched systems could be transformed by the force of determined, compassionate leadership. Together, the Kelvin children grew into figures who not only excelled in their respective fields, but also embodied the values of tenacity, empathy, and transformative leadership. Their triumphs were not isolated achievements. Rather, they were the collective outcome of a family that had weathered unimaginable hardships to foster a culture of unwavering support and hope. Every boardroom meeting led by David, every life saved by Solomon, every courtroom victory championed by Lisa, and every legislative reform guided by Becky were interwoven with the lessons learned in her childhood home, a home where adversity was transformed into the strength to soar. The legacy the Kelvin family built was much more than the individual accolades of its members. It was a narrative of redemption, innovation, and profound commitment to the welfare of society. Their stories reverberated across industries and communities, inspiring countless others to confront their own struggles with determination and an unshakable belief in the power of transformation. In boardrooms and hospitals, courtrooms and legislative halls, the echo of that early life of hardship provided a powerful counter-narrative to a world that often equated success with ease. The Kelvin children, guided by the steadfast example of Mr. Kelvin's enduring love and Sandra's nurturing spirit, redefined what it meant to triumph over adversity. Their collective journey proved that the greatest legacies are forged not in moments of comfort, but through the crucible of shared struggle, where every setback is transformed into a stepping stone toward a brighter, more just future. As the family celebrated milestone after milestone, they never lost sight of the roots from which their achievements grew. In every celebration, in every challenge overcome, the memories of their past hardships served as poignant reminders of the power of perseverance and the transformative nature of hope. And so, the legacy of the Kelvin family continued to expand, an enduring narrative that would inspire generations to come to believe in the possibility of greatness, even in the face of life's most daunting challenges. Looking back on the long, winding path that had led from heartbreak to triumph, the Kelvin family's legacy emerged not merely as a chronicle of personal success, but as a living testament to the transformative power of love and perseverance. Mr. Kelvin's journey, from the depths of isolation after Victoria's departure to the triumphant celebration of his children's achievements, reminded all who listened that every trial is a forge of strength, and every sacrifice plants the seed of a brighter future. Sandra's unwavering support had been the catalyst that turned desolation into determination. Her nurturing spirit, combined with Mr. Kelvin's relentless dedication, had sculpted a legacy that resonated deeply with anyone who had ever faced seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The family's shared resolve was a beacon for those in the depths of despair, a guiding light that demonstrated that even the most painful beginnings could blossom into a narrative of profound success. As the children now stood at the pinnacles of their respective fields, a billionaire CEO, a renowned doctor, an influential lawyer, and a courageous senator, their hearts remained forever intertwined with the lessons of their youth. They remembered the long nights of hardship, the silent tears, and the overwhelming struggles that had shaped their identity. Their message was clear. The journey may be arduous, but within every setback lies the opportunity for renewal and growth. For anyone reading this tale and wondering, how can one rise from such depths of despair? Let the answer be found in the story of Mr. Kelvin and his family. Their legacy is a powerful reminder that love, when nurtured with courage and perseverance, can transform a life marred by loss into a saga of eternal hope, a saga that resonates across generations, inspiring hearts to believe in the possibility of a better tomorrow. In the echo of every challenge lies a quiet promise that even when darkness seems overwhelming, the light of love and determination will always guide us toward a new dawn.